U.S.-backed Kurdish forces in Syria have announced they are sending 1,700 troops to the country's north to repel a Turkish military offensive. The forces had been assisting the U.S. coalition in the fight against ISIL, and now the Pentagon says it has been forced to halt those operations because of the Kurds' departure.
Some fighters operating within the SDF have decided to leave operations in the middle Euphrates River Valley to fight elsewhere, possibly in Afrin. They're not fighting ISIS anymore, and that basically meant that they're not taking territory back from ISIS as quickly as they had been in the past.
The Kurds, America's most reliable ally in Syria, have upped and left. Gone to make war with America's fellow anti-ISIS coalition member and NATO partner, Turkey. Not the friendliest coalition in the world, but that's besides the point.
You know, you've got the distraction of what's going on up in Afrin right now.
It distracts from international efforts to ensure the lasting defeat of ISIS.
What is going on in Afrin is taking away from the fight against ISIS. It is a distraction, as Secretary Mattis had called it. It is certainly not helpful.
Problem is, while America's anti-ISIS coalition butchers and cannibalizes itself, the war against the jihadists has stopped. The Kurds all left to do their own thing, and the guys still there in Deir ez-Zor are incapable, it seems, of beating the little ISIS enclave left there. So Washington is building an entire new army.
One key element of the DoD's strategy to defeat ISIS is to train, equip, sustain and enable elements of the vetted Syrian opposition. These forces are projected to total approximately 60 to 65,000.
65,000. This pet army would be bigger than the Canadian or Australian militaries. And don't forget, there are already 3 warring armies in Syria. The Pentagon is planning on equipping and providing this puppet force with everything but their underwear. Tens of thousands of new rifles, machine guns, mortars, millions of rounds of ammunition, 1,000 vehicles. And don't forget, they're seemingly going to pay their salaries, $200 to $400 a month. It's all in the new counterterrorism fund request. It says clearly, once ISIS is destroyed, this new army will stabilize and patrol the territory it holds, near enough a third of Syria, which meshes well with Washington's plans to stay in Syria indefinitely, keep the country split up and prevent Assad from winning. But there are questions like, where is the U.S. going to find 30,000 more moderate rebels when it couldn't find 10?
Can you tell us what the total number of trained fighters remains?
It's a small number, and the ones that are in the fight is we're talking four or five.
The last time the U.S. trained, equipped, and sent forth a rebel army, they all promptly gave up their guns and joined Al-Qaeda. They spent hundreds of millions on that, by the way. It was really embarrassing. Any way you look at it, this means more war. It says so in black and white. The U.S. will only train and equip vetted Syrian opposition, and hope that this time they don't all turn out to be Islamist radicals.
Political analyst Nicholas Davies told us the U.S. has a long history of supporting extremists in the region.
The people they have supported all along have been extremists until they formed this relationship with the YPD in Rojava. This was the U.S. goal all along: militarize the conflict, to pour in foreign fighters and weapons across the Turkish border. This was the U.S. policy, a covert policy. It's not the publicly announced policy, but that was the policy from from 2011 onwards.